Hello and welcome back to My Own Worst Enemy. It is time to start turn number 5 in the Eutaw Springs scenario. This is from the Great Battles of the American Revolution. So we're just going to start and jump right in. I'm going to get the sequence to play out, and we are going to start with the initiative segment as we usually do. If you'll look at the Army morale track here, the British and the Americans are both at 13, so that will give them a +1 to this initiative roll. You'll also note over here that the Americans and the British both have momentum chits. Now, either side could choose to spend a momentum chit here to increase their die roll by +2 by spending this chit. Actually, both sides could choose to do that. In this case, though, I think they're not going to do that. I think they're going to keep those momentum chips, possibly for close combat dice re-rolling. So we are just going to roll these D10 and see who's going to have the initiative here. So it's going to be basically whoever rolls higher, since they're both at +1. The Americans rolled a 4, the British rolled a 3, so the American forces will have the initiative for this turn. So we'll put the game turn marker at the top to indicate that it is 11 a.m. and the Americans will get to go first here in this turn. So we go right into the movement phase. The first thing we would do is place reinforcements. Well, we are done with reinforcements for this scenario. If you were playing the alternate version of this scenario, there is an optional rule for the British to get some reinforcements on turn 7, but we have chosen not to do that. So no more reinforcements. All right, and then we're reminded that disrupted units may only move 1 hex. The Americans do not have any disrupted units. Shattered units may not move. There are no American shattered units. Pinned units may move only if they do not end their movement adjacent to an enemy unit, and the phasing player reduces his army morale. So we do have pinned units for the Americans here and down here. So we could move those, but it would be at the cost of adjusting our army morale downward, and I don't think we want to do that, so we're not going to move any pinned units. Then, of course, it says units may conduct strategic move. So we're just going to conduct our movement here, our regular movement and our strategic movement. So let's see what we want to do. And as I pointed out, the pinned units, this stack will not move. It'll simply be the units that are here and Swamp Fox up here to the north. And the first thing I want to have a look at, though, is what is in this pinned stack, because I do want to be aware of what the strength points are in there. I don't want to violate the strength point limits. So I see 1 for Lee's Legion. There's 2 more for the militia, so we're at 3. And then 4, 5 for the Palmetto unit there. So we could only get 1 more strength point in there. I don't think I want to add anything else. I think we could bring, there's no artillery in there, so I think we can bring an artillery unit forward. We may want to do that. So let's get these stacked back up. And I think there's an artillery unit right behind this stack, so let's take a look at that. And there is. And so the rules state that we can have 6 strength points worth of units in a stack without being overstacked. However, the artillery unit can also be in addition to that 6 strength points. So I think we probably do want to bring that artillery unit forward. And then, of course, the leader does not count towards that. So let's go ahead and move that artillery unit forward. So we're going to move this artillery unit is going to come into the stack. I'm just going to put it under the leader. And we'll put the pin marker back down on top of that stack. All right, and we'll just continue on. We have the Palmetto unit. I'm going to take a quick look at the morale is 0, but the strength is 3 on that. So we probably want to try to bring that unit around to maybe attack or maybe even help attack this pin stack here. We could move it down to here. We could even move it further down. So we could go 1, 2, 3. We could hit anywhere along this side or this side of the line. And then back behind that unit, there is another artillery unit. There's a leader, green, and they're a, what is that? The Virginia Brigade? I can't read that with my eyes. Let's see if I can see what that says. That is the Virginia Brigade, and it is a +1 morale. And then a +2 on the Maryland Brigade, and strength 3. So that's pretty powerful there coming in behind that Palmetto unit. So we could actually use this stack to try to hit either side here pretty hard. Now let's look at this stack that's next to this pin stack. So we have these Highlanders here, strength of 1, And then we have, what is this? New York Volunteers, strength of 2. But then we have these regulars that are strength 4 plus 1. So we may actually want to bring this stack around this side to go after this stronger stack. And I am looking, it looks like I'm actually in violation of stacking here, and I did not even notice this. So there's 4 strength points and 2 strength points and 1 strength point. So that's 7. So this is actually a violation that I have committed here on this stacking of these units. And just looking at the rule book, 7.3 overstacking penalty. If units are found to be overstacked at any time, the owning player must immediately eliminate enough steps to meet the stacking limit. All step losses taken impact army morale and victory points as if they were lost in combat. Oh my goodness. So I think if I'm reading this correctly, we must eliminate this top unit. Now it is only a 1 strength point unit, but that's going to cost us victory points and army morale. So pay attention to your stacking. Oh my, what have I done? So I'm going to punish myself here. I'm punishing the British, really. I'm going to take this Highland unit and I'm going to eliminate it. Put that in the eliminated box, and we're going to drop the British victory down to 12 from 13. Now all is well. I've corrected for my violation there. I cannot believe I did that. And I'm just going to have a quick look. Oh, that one was okay because we have an artillery unit there. It's not going to count towards it. That was the only one I somehow managed to screw up. So I'm going to enforce that penalty. And the British have lost a unit. So back to where I was. I still think that we might want to consider bringing some forces around this side to hit that stack, which is now down to 6 where it should be strength points wise. So let's see if we can move the entire stack. Movements, I think all of these have movement factors of 4. Of course, the leader has 6, and the artillery is the only one that has 3, but it could go 1, 2, 3. So it could, everybody in that stack could reach this hex, this movement turn, or this movement phase, I should say. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this unit, since this is a 3 strength point unit, and there's one back here that's also a 3. Now he can move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he can get up to this hex. We could bring this guy and this guy here to help. Well, no, they're still out of range, though. I can't get them any closer. I was thinking strategic movement, but I can't do that. So let's go ahead and move. Let's move this unit 1, 2. Now this will put him into position to go into this hex or this hex, so he could attack anywhere along this line. And so he's moved. Now we're just going to keep going back. These units, like I said, the artillery unit can go 1, 2. Now wait a minute. Can it go into the light woods? So let's take a look at the terrain effects chart to see if that's possible. So we look at light woods on the terrain effects chart. It's called light forest on the terrain effects chart, and it says it cost artillery 2. Uh-oh. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So they, in fact, could not enter into that wooded hex until next turn. So let's go ahead and move it up. We'll go ahead and move it up to here. And then we will have green and the rest of these, or these other 2 brigades, go 1, 2, 3. So it's only 1 movement point to enter that for these units. So they're going to enter the wooded hexes, or the wooded hex there. So now these units have moved, and we have Washington's dragoons back here. So we could try to run the dragoons back up around this side to take another crack at the, who is that? They've already defeated one of our units. They captured, it's a light infantry unit, and they captured our other dragoon unit that was up there. So do we want to try to take that unit again? We would be attacking a light infantry unit, and I think there's some penalties for that. Looking at the defender benefits here quickly. And no, I don't see any adjustments. There would be if there were rifled units firing on that light infantry, but this is not rifled. They are currently in this heavy wood hex though, and that might cause an adjustment. Let's take a look at the terrain effects chart again at close combat for light forest or heavy forest. There's no effect. And the strength points, it would be, there's 2 strength points on this unit, and our Washington's dragoons normally have a strength point of 1, but if they are attacking alone as the only unit, then they get a strength point rating of 2. So it would be 2 against 2, and there is also this leader back here. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll bring our Dragoons around to that side. Maybe they can get around this unit and help Swamp Fox up here. I don't know. And then we have this 3 strength point unit can go, let's see, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with strategic movement. I'm going to bring this one up with this unit. And then we have this final unit way back here. Who is this? Kirkwood. Light infantry, and it is 1 strength point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's just bring him, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we could actually run up there and aid the Dragoons. Although he wouldn't really be aiding the Dragoons, he could back up the Dragoons because he cannot enter the hex the Dragoons are in conducting strategic movement. You cannot end adjacent to an enemy unit. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could also move him on top of the artillery unit to protect it. We could also, let's see, could he reach down here with these guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we could also add to this stack. We'll make sure, yeah, no, that would violate stacking, and we don't want to do that again. I'm going to move him either here, here, or here. Let's bring him up with the artillery unit. Finally, that leaves Swamp Fox up here. The Swamp Fox and this militia unit, which is strength 2, can move 5. Swamp Fox can move 4. So we can come up, back up around at this rifled unit, maybe have another go at them. So we can go 1. And yeah, let's just move them up to here. Put the rifled unit on top to show that there is a rifled unit there. And I believe that's going to end movement for the American side. So now the next thing on the sequence of play, we go into the rally phase. This is where we do morale checks for disrupted and shattered units. And I don't believe the Americans have anyone that is disrupted or shattered. No, that's pin, nothing else under there. So we are good there. And now we go into defensive artillery fire. So this is where the non-phasing player may fire artillery. And I do believe that the British have an artillery unit in this hex, I think. They do. We will momentarily bring that artillery unit out or move it to the top of this stack. Now I'm going to look at the rule book really quick for pinned units to make sure this artillery unit can in fact fire. And I believe that it's going to have to fire because I'm not going to move any of these units. And when you don't move the units, then you must attack. And looking at the pinned rules, I don't see where the artillery is restricted in any way. So they will get a chance to fire here. So I think they're going to fire on this pinned stack that is in front of them. And they will choose the unit they wish to fire upon. So let's take a look in this stack. That is the Palmetto unit. We have Lee's Legion, a pretty strong militia, and we have an artillery unit. I think they're just going to fire on the artillery unit. Try to knock out the American artillery if they can. And we'll just leave the pin unit off to the side there while we do this. And so getting out the table here, let's see. We are going to use the ranged fire to hit table. So this British artillery unit is firing adjacent. So we are at 2 strength points. So 2 strength points firing adjacent. We are looking for a 6 to hit. So I'm going to put a 6 on this D10 to remind me of that for now, because now we must check the die roll modifiers to this roll. So the combat modifiers, is the target light infantry? No. Does it occupy a forest or any of these other terrains? No. Wait a minute here. I don't think so. I think this is road, clear open road, so no. Target is artillery or mounted dragoons, so they're going to get a +1 to this roll for the fact that they are firing at artillery. And then it's not +1 for a rifled unit, not in the building, and so that's it. So they're looking for a 6, and they get a +1 to their roll. So let's go ahead and roll. So the British artillery fires. 7 + 1 is 8. So let's see. the, we actually need to roll again, an unmodified D10. So the result isn't an 8 on this damage table. So we've only rolled the 8 to say that we've hit it. Now we've got to roll again on this damage table for the arrows. Let's do this again. So let's roll the D10 to see what the damage is. And we roll a 9, so the 9 on that table, again, looking at the damage table versus, and I'll show you this if I can, if we focus here. This is, the artillery side is over here, so we're firing at artillery, and a 9 is a 1, so that's going to be a step loss for that artillery unit. But let's see if it can even take a 1 step loss. We flip the artillery unit, what is on the other side? Blank! So the artillery unit has been destroyed. So we're going to put this in the eliminated units. And we will now make the proper adjustments to the British side for having done that. And let's see, now I have not forgotten the Americans could have chosen to make the British re-roll that. I'm going to let it stand though, because I think the Americans are going to want to save that momentum chit for something a little more meaningful, although this might be meaningful enough, I don't know. We're going to let that stand. Okay, so looking at the Army Morale Adjustment table, we are looking at inflict a 1 result, so it's going to be a loss for the Americans. So their morale is going to go down to 12. And for the British, they will actually gain momentum, so they're back up to 13. And looking to see if there's anything else that would apply here. Looks like no, just that the morale shuffling there. Of course, there will be victory points awarded for enemies in the eliminated box. So that's going to conclude defensive artillery fire, and we will move this pinned marker back up to the stack. Let's put that on there, and then we will grab this artillery unit. And I'm just going to put it back down at the bottom of this stack. All right, and I believe that's all the artillery that the British own. Now we go to the rifled fire phase. So our rifled units are up here, Swamp Fox. So let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look at what's going on there. So we have the South Carolina militia here is firing at this, who is this? Sheridan's rifled unit. So let's go ahead and conduct this. We'll get my ranged fire table back out here. So we are looking at, on that chart, we are looking at strength points of the firing unit. So again, this rifled unit, strength point 1, is adjacent. Looking for a 7 to hit. I'm going to put the, I'll put a 7 on this D10 to remind me. We're looking for a 7 to hit. And let's see. So now we're going to do the adjustments to that. The target is light infantry. No, it is not. It does not occupy forest. It is not artillery. It is not a mounted dragoon. The rifle unit has already fired, so no modifier for that. So no other modification here for this unit. Target is light infantry, so this target is a light infantry unit, so it's going to be a -1 for that. It's in the open, no terrain modifiers, it's not artillery or mounted dragoon, and it's not in any of the other terrain locations specified. So the only modifier to this roll will be a -1 for the fact they are firing on light infantry. So let's get the dice tower in here. We're going to roll this. We are looking for a 7. But there's a -1 to the roll, so the South Carolina militia fires. What is that? I can't see it. It is a 1, that is a miss. So the fire is simultaneous here, so this British unit will now return fire. So let's look at our modifiers again. We are at strength point 1 on this British unit. It is adjacent, so again, we are looking for a 7. Put the 7 out to remind us that we're looking for a 7. Let's see if there's any modifiers to this. This target is not light infantry, and there's no terrain modifiers, and the British unit's not firing for the first time. So we're looking for a 7 to hit, and the British rifle unit fires, and it rolls a 6, so they miss. So miss and miss, and I believe that's going to end the rifle fire phase for us. So we will get some of this stuff out of the way. We will move the dice tower, and let's zoom back out now and continue along. All right, so we are now going on to the next phase, and that is close combat. Now we could have stayed zoomed in there to conduct close combat with the swamp fox, but we will get back to him in just a moment. But let's go ahead and start close combat, and maybe we will now zoom back into this area. I think we can get everything on camera and not have to zoom out again. Let's go ahead and zoom in. And now we will start at the top, and we will start with Washington's Dragoons there and work our way down the line. All right, so the close combat phase here, one thing that you would do if you're playing an opponent and doing this technically as per the rules, we would, as the Americans, since we're the phasing player, we would announce all of the close combats that we would wish to resolve. So we would identify which close combats we would want to resolve on the board. The next thing we would do would be to remove all of the pin markers. So the phasing player, after you announce your close combats, you then remove the pin markers from all units on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those pinned units now from all the units on the board, as all these units will be engaged again in combat. So let's go ahead and remove the pin markers. All right, and so we will have combat in all the areas that we were going to have close combat from. So let's see, let's go ahead and start at the top. Like I said, we have Washington's Dragoons up here, and we will start with that first. So our lead units are quite obvious. It's Washington Dragoons for the Americans, and it's this light infantry unit for the British. And now we need to determine our odds ratio. So Washington's Dragoon, that red 2 in parentheses, means he is at strength point 2. The light infantry is also at 2, so we're on the 1-to-1 column. And one thing I just realized, we still have the special rule for this scenario is when an American unit engages in close combat for the first time, it will receive a bonus column shift. So I should have been a little more careful in moving these units, because some of these units have not conducted close combat yet. And I think I can work this out. We know that Washington's Dragoons, I'm going to just put a little blue marker for now. Washington's Dragoons came in, has not conducted close combat yet. This entire stack moved into the woods, had not conducted close combat yet. This stack also moved down this way and had not conducted close combat yet. And finally, this stack back here also has not engaged in close combat yet. So you've got to be careful. I was not careful enough there. I should have monitored that a little more closely, but I think I've got it right. And I believe if units moved into a stack that had already engaged in close combat, I believe they would not get that bonus because the units would attack as a stack. So I believe I got this right now. So we're going to go ahead and remove this blue cube now, because this will be the first time the Dragoons have engaged in close combat. So this will give them a column shift. So this is going to take them from 1-to-1 to the 3-to-2 table. All right, and so now let's look at our die roll modifiers. So the attacker, we are looking at the morale for our Dragoon unit is a +1. So we're at +1 for the Dragoon's morale. The close combat DRM of the attacker's commanding leader. There's no commander there. Defending unit is rifled. It is not a rifled unit. It's not disrupted or shattered. Not a mounted Dragoon. And let's see, not a militia. It's not surrounded. It is not on Nelson's Ferry. Now let's look at the defender's modifiers. So this unit has a +2 morale. So that's going to be a -2 to the roll. And then, of course, there's no close combat DRM. And then just looking down the list, I do not see any other modifiers here for the defender other than that -2 we're going to get for the morale there. And then the final thing we do now are tactics. So let's get that solo chart out for the tactics tables. I'll get the cards. Okay, so the Americans are engaging without a leader. So engage without a leader is withdraw plausible. It is. Use table 1. So we're looking at table 1. Engage without a leader, withdraw plausible. We'll be using a D8. Let's go ahead and see if we can get the dice tower on here so we can see it. Okay, so we're using a D8, and let's see what tactic that the Americans want to use. 7, so skirmish. So I'll grab the skirmish card for the Americans. They will be using skirmish. And now for the British, back to the table. Are they engaging with or without a leader? They are engaging without a leader. Is withdrawal plausible? Yes, it is here, definitely plausible. So again, we're going to be on table 1, and we will roll the D8 again. And that looks like a 6. So a 6 is attack on echelon. So let's grab that card for the British. And we will look now at the matrix for our tactics, the tactics matrix table. So the attacker is skirmish and the defender is attack echelon. So it's a +1 for tactics. So what does that mean? That means we are on the 3 to 2 column of the combat table, close combat table. We have +1 for the morale, +1 for tactics, and then a -2 for the morale of the defending player. So all of the modifiers cancel out. So it's going to be just a straight roll on the 3 to 2 column, and we're rolling the blue D10 for the Americans. So the Dragoons fire. They get a 7, and a 7 on the 3 to 2 column is a -/D. So the slash, of course, is no effect. The D is the defender is going to be disrupted. So let me grab a disrupted marker. The first thing we're going to have to do, though, is retreat that unit 3 hexes. So it must end 3 hexes away from its starting hex in the shortest distance. So it's just going to go straight back. It will go 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. He's going to run all the way back to the edge of Eutaw Creek there. And we will put our disrupted marker on that unit. And now let's see what adjustments we need to make for the army morale. So if a unit suffers a disruption, the attacking player gains nothing, but the defender is going to lose a morale point. So I'm going to adjust the British morale army track marker down to 12. So now the British and the Americans are tied at 12 again. And it looks like that is everything that we needed to resolve for that close combat. So let's continue stepping down now. We have, remember that all adjacent enemy units must be attacked. So I'm going to have this stack attack this stack. This stack will attack this stack. So that satisfies this requirement. And then the only other stack that would need to be attacked is down here. So it will just be 1 for 1. So we have 3 more close combats to resolve for the Americans. So again, let's go ahead and get our odds ratio for this next stack. I'm going to take the little blue cube off again. We will get the bonus column shift for surprise attack. And let's put that here so we can see it to remind us that we will get that. All right, so let's come up with our odds ratios here. So this is the one that has green. The stack has green. So let me count these up. I believe it was 6. So let's see, 3 plus 3 is 6. So 6 for the Americans and 6 for the British. That was the stack that illegally had 7, but now they're at 6 to 6, so it's on the 1 to 1 column. But remember, we'll have the shift because this is the first time that this stack is engaging in close combat. So we will move that to the 3 to 2 column, and we will step down our die roll modifiers here for close combat, starting with the attacker. So first and foremost, we have to pick our lead units though, and in here, the Maryland Brigade is at +2, so that's going to be our lead unit. So let's have the +2 for the Maryland Brigade. And then let's just go down the list here. Close combat DRM for the attacker's commanding leader. We do have a leader in here. So this is green, who has, if you'll note, that leftmost number there is a 1. So we'll get a +1 for that. And continuing to step along the modifier table here, it's not a defending rifled unit. And I guess we didn't pick the, we probably need to go ahead and pick who we're shooting at here, or who the lead unit would be for the British. So it's probably going to be this +1 morale unit. This Irish Brigade. Okay, so the defending unit is not a rifled unit, not disrupted, not shattered, and then none of these other modifiers will apply. Looking at the defender benefits, so we have the Irish Brigade as a +1, so that's going to be a -1 to the roll. There is no leader in that stack, and then none of the other modifiers are going to apply here. So now we need to go back and get our tactics cards, and let's get these off the table as these are a part of the tactics cards. And it looks like I put out the same card for the one side for both of those, but doesn't matter. The cards are all the same. So let's see, we have the Americans are engaging with a leader this time. Does the opponent have a leader? No, it does not. Is flank possible or not? Possible. So flanking here is possible. Is withdrawal plausible? It is. It's plausible. Table 5. So I'm gonna, looking at this again, I'm gonna say I don't think it is plausible. I don't think they would even think about withdrawing here, since they are in the most fierce part of this fight right along the front line. So I'm going to use table 6 here instead. So it's engaged with a leader with, this is a D8. So let's go ahead and roll this for the Americans. And that is a 3, so a 3 would be attack on echelon for the Americans. And let's grab the American card this time. So we have attack on echelon for the Americans. And now for the British, going back to our table, are they engaging without a leader? They are. Is withdrawal plausible here? I think in this case it would be, because there's only 2 units in that stack and they have plenty of room to withdraw. And wait a minute here, they do have a leader. Marchbanks is right there next to them. So hold on a second here. So let's start this over. They're engaging with a leader. Withdraw, let's see, flank here. Flanking is possible. The opponent has a leader. Then we're back to withdrawal. Is it plausible? And yeah, I'm still going to say, yeah, I think here it would be, because, or is it? What was the strength of this unit? I think it was 2. Yeah, these are pretty strong units going at it. I'm going to say yes. I think here it might be a little bit different for the British. So we're going to say that withdrawal is plausible, and that would put us on table number 9. So you have to kind of use, that's kind of a gray area there. You've got to use what you think would be best for these units. What I think is best may not be what you're thinking is best, but that's playing solitaire, that's going to happen. And it goes back to, do you even want to use the solo tactics tables or not? You have to make those calls yourself. So that's going to put me on table 9, I believe I said. So let's go ahead and roll a D8. And it is a 7 result, which is turn flank. So let's grab the turn flank card to show that that is what they are doing. And then we'll grab our tactical matrix. So the Americans are attacking attack echelon, and the defenders are turn flank. It's a -1 to the roll. Now we have all of our modifiers. So we're on the 3 to 2 column. We have our +2 for our attacker morale, +1 for the leader's close combat modifier. We are at a -1 for the defender morale, and we're at a -1 due to the tactics tables. So the net result there is going to be a +1 on this die roll for the Americans, and they roll a 1, so a 1 on the 3 to 2 column, let's see, is a D/dash. So unfortunately for the Americans, that is a disruption for them. All right, so let's get the dice out of here. We'll get the cards out. So again, disruption. So our lead unit was I can dig it out here from underneath green, was the Maryland Brigade. So this Maryland Brigade is going to have to retreat 3. So 1, 2, 3. And they earn a disrupted marker as I throw it across the battlefield. But there's the disruption marker on the Maryland Brigade. And again, we have to adjust now our army morale. And I believe, let's see, here we go. It is a nothing for the British, but another loss for the Americans. Now they're down to 11. One more loss will put them on the fatigued chart. And I believe that's going to resolve close combat for that stack. Now we're going to come down to the North Carolina militia stack there. So we're going to start all over again, and we're going to get our ratios first. So let's see. Grab this stack of units. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5. There is a leader in here. Hampton is with this stack. So we have 5 strength points for the Americans. And now the British, 4. So we have 4 for the British. So we are going to be on the 1-to-1 column. There'll be no adjustment because we've already used our surprise modifier for the last attack. So on the 1-to-1 column, now let's go ahead and pick our lead units. And for the British, it's going to be Delancey. He's +1. I'm knocking these units all over the place. And then for the Americans, let's see, who do they want to be the lead unit? I think they're going to use the Palmetto Foot unit. Let's go ahead and put this back. And the Palmetto Foot unit, I'm going to grab Hampton here. The Palmetto Foot unit is strength 2. Well, that doesn't matter, but what I meant to say is their morale is 0. So we'll put their morale marker so we can still see it. Okay, so we're on the 1-to-1 column. We've picked our lead units, so let's go ahead and go now and get our die roll modifiers. So as I said, the Palmetto unit, morale of 0, so nothing there. I don't think there's, well, there is a leader involved here. We do have Hampton has a 1, so it's +1 for Hampton's close combat DRM. And then the defending unit is not rifled. It's not dragoons, shattered, or any other thing. And no other modifiers apply. So now we're going to adjust the defender. The defender benefits +1 morale, so that's going to be a -1 through this die roll. Looking down the defender benefits, there is nothing else here that will apply. It's not surrounded, not in any special terrain. So that's going to be it. And now we've got to pick our tactics again. Let me grab that table. The Americans here, they're engaging with a leader. And so that's going to put us to the next choice, which does the opponent have a leader? The opponent does not have a leader. Is flanking possible? Flanking is possible. And finally, is withdrawal plausible? I'm gonna say the same thing again here. I don't think they would withdraw in this situation. So I'm gonna say withdrawal not plausible. Use table 6. Table 6 asks us to roll a d8. We roll an 8, and an 8 is turn flank. So turn flank for the Americans. And I'm knocking off the disrupted marker. Really having a bad time with the board this turn with knocking stacks and stuff around. I don't know why. Okay, so now the British here are engaging without a leader. No, I'm sorry, they are engaging with a leader. They have Coffin back there. So engaging with a leader, the opponent has a leader. Flanking here is possible. Withdrawal here, plausible. I'm going to say no in this case because they have units adjacent to them. They have Coffin behind them. I think it's not that plausible that they withdraw. So use table 10. Table 10 asks us to roll a d10. So let me grab a d10 and we will roll. We roll an 8 and that is turn flank for the British. So they're both turning flank here. There's our turn flank card for the British. We look that up on the matrix table. Turn flank for the attacker, turn flank for the defender. As you can imagine, that is a 0. On the 1-to-1 column, +1 for the leader, Hampton, -1 for the morale of the lead unit for the defender, and then 0 for the tactics. So we are at just a plain D10 on the 1-to-1 column. And we roll. It is a 6, and a 6 on the 1-to-1 column is R/R. So both sides here are going to retreat. All right, so both sides are retreating here. So when we retreat, the lead units will have to retreat, and then other units in the hex will have to make a morale check. Now we're going to start, as per the rules, we will start with the defender. And I'm going to check the exclusive rules quickly, and this is something you should get in the habit of doing just to make sure that retreat is not changed for this scenario, and I do not believe that it is. So I'm going to quick glance through here. And I do not see where retreat has been changed in this scenario, so we will start with the British. So let's get these cards out of the way. So we had Delancey here was of the British unit that retreated. He's going to retreat back to Coffin. And now these other units must make a morale check. Okay, so we're going to do the morale checks for the British. If they fail the morale check, they'll also have to retreat 1 hex to join Delancey back here. So we're going to start with Skinner's Greens, and you're looking for a 5 here, or rather you're looking for a 5 or greater, I should say, and we will get to adjust it with the morale of the unit. In this case though, a Skinner, his morale is 0, so there's no modifier for that. There would be a modifier if there's a leader in the same hex, but there is not. This is just another unit down here. So we're going to roll the D10 for the British and looking for a 5 or greater for Skinner's Greens. They roll a 5, so they pass their morale check. So they held. And then this artillery unit is going to have to make a morale check. Morale is +1, so again, looking for a 5 or greater. 2 + 1 is 3, so the artillery unit is going to bug out along with the other unit, and then this unit will remain in the hex. So now we're going to go to the American side. So for the Americans, I'm going to move Hampton here. So this Palmetto foot unit was our lead unit. It has to retreat 1 hex. So I'm going to bring him back 1 hex. And Hampton is here. All right, so I'm going to grab the American D10. So this North Carolina militia unit is going to get a -1, but Hampton is there, and he is going to actually allow a +1 to this die roll. So it's going to be -1 and +1 will be 0 for this modification. And so that the +1 for the leader is, if you look at the middle number for Hampton, it is a 1. So that is his leadership DRM. So he gets to add that to this roll for that unit. So strictly a D10 roll looking for 5 or greater. And okay, so that unit passes. And who is underneath there? I'm going to put this guy just, well, let's put him off the board for a second. And we have Lee's Legion now has a +1 with Hampton's +1, +2. So looking for a 5 with a +2. Ooh, so 1 + 2 is a 3. So Lee's Legion will also retreat. And that leaves Hampton there. And of course, leaders do not have to make morale checks. So Hampton is there. Out in the open exposed, that may not be a good thing. So that's going to resolve this close combat. And I believe that just leaves us with 1 more, no, 2 more. It's going to leave us with the combat here, and we still have to think about Swamp Fox up there. So let's go ahead and resolve these horses here against, who is that? The 64th, I believe it is. So let's go ahead and resolve that. Okay, so the first thing we do is ratios again. So we're at 1 to 3. Now again, these are the only units that are in battle, so they will be the lead units. So this is going to put us on the 1 to 3 column, which isn't good for the Americans. There'll be no adjustment because and I'm thinking, did I add the adjustment in for this battle? Did I shift those columns? And I don't think I did. So hold on 1 second here. I put this block down here to remind me that there was a column shift on. Yeah, so I had that on the 1 to 1. That should have been on the 3 to 2. So hold on, I rolled a 6, and that gave us the R/R result. But if I look over at the 3-2 column, it should have been no result for the attacker, the Americans, but it should still be a retreat for the British. So let's correct this before we move on. What that means, the British would retreat as we went through, but these American units would not have. Let's bring those back forward. You gotta be careful. Remember, the special rules in the special rules book come into play. You don't want to forget those. Now back down to here. Like I said, though, there's no column shift here. This is just on the 1 to 3. So let's go ahead and go through our die roll modifiers. We have the morale of Lee's Legion is a +1, so they will get that. There's no commander there. That's not, defending unit is not rifled, it's not disrupted, not shattered. But it says any attacker is mounted dragoon against solely disrupt. Oh, that's not going to matter. All defending units of militia, no. Defender surrounded, no, no, no. So nothing there other than the +1 for the morale for the attacking unit. The defender is a 0 morale, so nothing there. Not a rifled unit. And then none of these other things are going to apply. I'm just looking to see if anything, nope. So nothing else will apply here. Just going to be the +1 for morale for Lee's Legion. But now we've got to do the tactics again. So I'm going to Bring out the tactics table. Engage without a leader is withdraw plausible. It certainly is here. Use table 1. So for table 1, a D8. So we're going to roll a D8 for the Americans. That gets a 6, and a 6 on table 1 is attack on echelon. So we'll pull that card to show that they are attack on echelon. Back to the table. The British are engaging. I don't think that's a leader. Adjacent, it is not. So they're attacking, or they are without a leader, I should say. So engage without a leader. Withdraw here is definitely plausible. Use table 1. D8 again. They roll a 4. That is stand fast. That certainly sounds like something they might try to do here. Looking at our matrix table, we have attack on echelon versus stand fast. That is a +1. All right, so here we go. We are on the 3-to-1 column, which is not a very good column to be on for Lee's Legion here. And we get a +2 to the die roll. 7 + 2 is 9. And on the 1 to 3 column, a 9 is a no effect / retreat. So again, the British will have to retreat here. So let's slide the dice tower over. We'll pick up these cards. So the British are going to have to retreat, and they're going to retreat 1 space. So I think they would just fall back to this hex. So they have retreated. Now the attacker here, Lee's Legion, has to advance, because he was the lead unit and he caused a retreat. So this Lee's Legion will move into this hex. And this hex contains a red star. So that was one of the victory conditions. So let's take a look at that. This is the British perimeter. And it says, as soon as American combat units, except artillery, occupy or pass through any 4 of the 7 hexes, the British player loses 1 step of army morale. This adjustment occurs immediately and is a one-time event. So this is going to count as 1 towards that, because they are moving. They have moved into it, and that's all they have to do is either move in or pass through. All right, so that's one of those hexes that has been occupied or passed through, and I'm looking on the board. I don't see anywhere that I would track this. I'm going to have to grab a counter, I guess. I'm going to grab, this is a handy dandy little counter I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that. I'm going to put that at 1 and put it on the board to show that one of those hexes has been entered, and we will just put it on this Liberty box here. On the map, you'll see it when we zoom back out. And as I'm looking on the board, I see that I have an escapee North Carolina militia unit that I should have put back under Hampton. Let's do that. Was during that retreat error that I made. Those units are there. So we have now caused this unit to retreat. Lee's Legion has moved forward. And that is it for combat there. So I'm going to move the camera up now so we have one more close combat, and that is with Swamp Fox. So we're up here with Swamp Fox. We'll get the dice tower moved back just a wee bit there. We have one final close combat for the American side here. A lot of battles this round, a lot of battles this turn, I should say. So we have the South Carolina Militia and Swamp Fox. They are at 3 strength points. So it's 3-to-1 against the British rifled unit there. Now we will read down our modifiers for the attacker. And I need to pick a lead unit before I do this. For the British, it's obvious. It's the rifled unit. For the Americans, it's going to be Swamp Fox. All right, so Swamp Fox is at a +1. We get no close combat DRM for a commanding leader here. The defending unit is a rifled unit though, so they're going to get another +1 for that. It is not disrupted or shattered, and none of these other attacker benefits apply. Now let's look at defender benefits. The lead unit there has a +1 morale, so that's going to be a -1 to this die roll. There's no leader. The attacking unit is a rifled unit, or any attacking unit is a rifled unit. So yes, we do have an attacking rifled unit here, which is under there. So that's going to be a -1 to this roll. And none of these other modifiers will apply. So we will go now to the tactics chits, or in this case, the tactics cards. So let's go ahead and grab the solo chart again. We are not attacking with a leader here. So we are without a leader. Is withdraw plausible? I think it would be in this situation. So use table 1, and we are going to roll a D8. So the Americans roll. That looks like a 4. So a 4 on table 1 is stand fast. Stand fast for the Americans. Now the British, they're engaging without a leader. Withdrawal is plausible. Table 1. We roll for the British. An 8, skirmish. So now we go back to the tactical matrix. Stand fast for the attackers. Skirmish for the defenders. A +1 for the Americans. A lot of die roll modifiers to this one. So we're at 3 +1s and 2 -1s. So it's going to be a +1 to the die roll. And the Americans will roll their blue D10 on the 3 to 1 column with a +1. 5 + 1 is 6 on the 3 to 1. It's a no result for the attacker, but it is a disruption marker for the defender. All right, so we're going to get the dice tower. Let's see, I'm going to move these cards and we'll get the dice tower out of the way. And so disruption, this unit's going to have to move 3 hexes and it is going to run down the road, I think. Just it's going to go 1, 2, 3. And it will earn a disrupted marker. Place a disruption marker on that unit. And now Swamp Fox was the lead unit, so Swamp Fox will have to advance 1 hex. So Swamp Fox has advanced, and now we may choose to advance the unit that was in the hex with it, and we're going to choose to do so, so we're going to advance the rifle unit as well. And then again, the disruption, let's take a look at the Army morale adjustments for a disruption. And it is nothing for the attacker, but the defender here is going to lose another -1 to their Army morale. The British have now fallen to 11, again tied with the Americans. So they're both on the edge of falling into fatigued. And so that is going to conclude close combat for the American side. So let's go ahead and zoom back out. You can tell I put my counter for these markers, these stars, are over here to show that the Americans have, in fact, occupied, at least temporarily, one of these starred hexes. So I've got the 1 to show that. They need 3 more to have the Army morale here for the British drop 1 more. And you'll note that the Army morale markers are at the lowest end of the high morale box there. So that is it. There are still 2 units for or 2 stacks here for the Americans that have not engaged in close combat for the first time yet. I'm going to leave the blue cubes on to show that, so they will get their column adjustment if they don't join up with some of the other stacks there. Okay, so continuing along here now, it is the British turn, and we will start with the movement phase again. So place reinforcements, no. Disrupted units may move only 1 hex. Let's go ahead and move our disrupted units now. So we have 3 disrupted units. They're all up here in the north near the Swamp Fox. And so what I think I am going to do, I'm going to leave this one in place. And I think I'm going to move these 2 with the intent of maybe getting them on the other side of this creek. Because if they can have the attackers attack them from across the creek, then that will help in their defense. So we're going to move, this one's going to move down. Let's see, let's move it this way. No, actually, let's move it this way. We moved down, and this unit will also move down closer to the creek side. So that's going to be, those disrupted units have moved. This disrupted unit is going to sit right there for now. Next, we look at shattered units, which may not move. Pinned units may move. Well, no pinned units. We took care of that in the previous rounds. And now we're going to conduct our regular movement and strategic movement. So let's do that. So that's going to be in this area. We're going to move Marchbanks into this stack. So he is not exposed out there. And then we are going to move, I think we might want to end up moving all of these forward. Who is that in there? Coffin is in there. And the Lancey unit is also in there. Now they had retreated. Yeah, let's just move these guys back forward. They're going to move up. Marchbanks, of course, is here. This unit will stand fast there, I think. And then this guy, we can move him In the enemy zone of control, we could move him either here or here, and I think we are going to move him here. I think he would move just this way. So we went from this zone of control to this zone of control, which it was just perfectly legal. And that's going to take care of our movement. Well, hold on a second. Let's see if there's this unit. If we want to think about potentially bringing this unit, that is with the HQ unit out. And I don't, well, he's a +2 morale. That's pretty powerful, but he's only 1 strength point. I don't really want to abandon the plantation house though, so let's not do that. Okay, so that's going to take care of movement. Now we're going to go into the rally phase. And here we're going to do morale checks for the disrupted or shattered units. So we have 3 of those to consider. So let's do that. And we're probably going to need to get the dice tower ready here. We'll use the red D10 to show this. So again, morale checks, we're looking for 5 or greater. And the morale number will either add, subtract, or do nothing to that die roll. There's no leaders with these units, so let's just start on the right-hand side here. So we'll start with this unit. This is our rifle unit, +1 to the roll, no leader. So he's going to attempt to rally, looking for 5 or greater, and he gets a +1. And he only rolls a 1, so he stays disrupted. Very unfortunate for the rifled unit. Now let's go to the next unit. This is the Charleston horse unit. So let's roll again. So again, looking for 5 or greater, also at a +1. There you go. He rallied. Get that marker off. And then finally, we're looking for this unit, this light infantry, +2 to the roll, looking for 5 or greater. And that looks like a 4 + 2 is 6, so definitely a rally there. So 2 units rallied, 1 did not. So they're trying to hold off Swamp Fox from coming out of the swamps and going after the plantation. So that's going to be it for the rally phase. And now we're going to go to the defensive artillery fire phase. And I think we still have artillery. I think it's in this tall stack, but let me look under green. I'm pretty sure that's not, yeah, though green has just got a brigade under him. Let's look under here. Although we did lose an artillery, I think this is where we lost the artillery. Yeah, we sure did. And then the other artillery unit, I believe, is under this stack. And it is. So there'll be no defensive artillery fire here for the Americans, which now will take us to the rifle fire phase, and the rifle unit is over here disrupted. It can't do anything. Okay, so then the next thing on the sequence of play chart is close combat. So let's do that. Close combat time again. And I will zoom us in so we can see this a little closer up. There we go. So we will start our close combat again. Every enemy that can be attacked must be attacked. It's adjacent, so I think we're going to have this stack is going to attack this stack. This stack will fire back at this stack, and these 2 will go after Lee's Legion here. So let's just start. We're only going to have 3 close combats. We will start the top and work our way down. So let's do our odds ratios. We have Marchbanks. Move him off just for a second here. We have 4 strength points +2, so that's 6. And the defenders only have 3. That will put us on the 2 to 1 column, and that will not be adjusted. So let's see, 2 to 1 column. Now we're going to go down the die roll modifiers. Those. So we didn't pick our lead units. We need to do that. Got a little ahead of myself here. So let's see who we have to choose from. The Irish and the New York Volunteers. And we're going to go with the Irish unit. The Irish, what does that say? That says the Irish Buffs. So they will be our lead unit. And of course, on this side, it's going to have to be the Virginia Brigade. So now that we have our lead units, the Irish there will get the +1 for their morale. There is a leader there. We have Marchbanks, and his leadership value there is 1, so we're going to get a +1 for that. Defending unit, not a rifled unit. They're not disrupted. They're not shattered. No dragoons involved. It's not militia. Defender is not surrounded. The ferry is not in play. Now we're going to look at the defender benefits here. So we're going to take the morale value for the Virginia Brigade is +1. So that's going to be a -1 to the die roll. And then the close combat DRM of the defender's commanding leader. Well, we do have, who was that? Green? Yeah, we have green, which is a 2. So that's going to be a -2. Actually, no, I'm looking at the wrong number. It's that first number is the close combat DRM, so it's going to be a -1. Going down the list still, attacking unit is not a rifled unit. And looking at everything else on this defender benefit table, nothing else here will apply. So we're looking at, we are on the 2-to-1 column of the close combat table. We have 2 +1s and 2 -1s, so it's going to be a complete washout on the modifier, so we're just rolling a straight roll on the 2-to-1 column. And I forgot the tactics, so let's do that before we roll, so it's not quite a 0 effect yet. So let's get our solo table out and do this. I always want to forget the tactics table. I don't know why. So we have the British are attacking with a leader. The opponent does have a leader. Flanking here is, it is possible. And withdrawal is, I'm going to say it's plausible here. It is plausible. So table 9. Table 9 asks us to roll a D8. So let's roll a D8. And that is a 2 result, which is stand fast for the British. So let's grab their cards. And here comes their stand fast card. All right, and then for the Americans, go back to the table. So the Americans, they do have a leader. They have green, so they're engaging with the leader. Flanking here is possible. The opponent has a leader. I got that backwards. We should have looked at that first. The opponent that does have a leader. Flanking is possible, so is withdrawal plausible here? I think so in this case. Again, table 9, and the D8 again. And we roll a 2 again, so maybe it's trying to tell me I was right the first time. So a 2 on that table is stand fast. And so of course on the matrix, the tactical matrix, stand fast, and stand fast is 0. So little did I know, maybe I was psychic, but there's no die roll modifier that's going to be applied to this combat, which is on the 3-to-1 column. We're going to have these 2 units attack Lee's Legion. So it would be 3, 4, 5, 7 against 1. 7-to-1. That's our attack ratio. All right, so choosing our lead units, we have, let's choose this unit as our lead because it has a +1. Of course, the Lee Legion unit there will have to be the lead for the Americans. And now we come to the decision that the Americans are probably going to take, and that's cavalry withdrawal. So if all defending units in close combat are parade order cavalry and none of the attacking units are mounted cavalry, they're not, they're all foot units, the defender has the option to announce a cavalry withdrawal after the attacker has declared his lead unit, but before the attacker resolves close combat. So what happens here, instead of resolving the close combat, normally, the mounted cavalry units retreat 3 hexes regardless of movement costs, following the retreat priorities that, that they're not ending up adjacent to enemy units. And then we'll mark the unit with a cavalry withdrawal marker and go straight to step 9 of the close combat procedure. And step 9 would be advance after combat, I think is what they're saying here. And then so the effects mounted cavalry units marked with a withdrawal marker retain their zone of controls, but they may not move or attack. They defend normally and may not choose cavalry withdrawal again while under that marker. That marker will come off again during the Americans' next rally phase. So this unit is going to have to retreat 3 hexes. So 1, 2, 3. Now I think he can enter those light woods. Let's double check that, make sure we're not messing that up. They can, in fact, enter that hex. So we're going to move them back just 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3. Now I'll have to get a cavalry withdrawal marker. We have not used one of those yet, but we're going to use it now. And we will put that on the cavalry unit down here. One other thing I just noticed, this disrupted unit that we had retreated, it was in this hex. It went 1, 2. It was supposed to go 3. This unit should be one more back to correct for that. And now we go to step 9 of the close combat phase, and that's a unit gets to advance 1 hex. So this is where that cavalry unit was. So I'm going to have this one advance forward 1. And the other 2 will stay right where they are. And I believe now we are finished with close combat for the British. So that is it. That's going to end turn number 5. And so I will put this marker now back up at over turn 6, as we have yet to determine who will have the initiative on turn number 6. And we will end it here. And it's pretty tight right now. It's kind of hard to tell who might win this thing. All right, I will stop it here. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. As always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you back here next time.